All right, so has everybody had a good couple days so far? Yeah, it's been good? All right, cool. What I need everybody to do is stand up real quick for me. Everybody. Everybody in the auditorium, if you can hear me, stand up. In the back, in the blue. I see you sitting down way back there. Come on, stand up, Jack. Let's go. Come on, everybody. All right. So everybody that's here, if you're not next to at least 6 people, move up closer to the stage. Let's go. We got 30 minutes to learn a lot of good stuff. Let's go. Get close to the stage. Come on, in the back, in the yellow. Let's go. I'm not going to start until everybody moves up. Let's go. Keep it going. Clap your hands. Come on, people. Let's go. Move up. Come on. We got a lot to learn, lot to learn real quick. All right, so as everybody's moving in, one of the exercises that I really like to do is when you come to an event, one of the weird things that happens is you're all together and you don't always know everybody who's here. So take the next minute, talk to somebody to your right or to your left, 30 seconds each, talk about the best childhood memory you've ever had. Take 30 seconds and then I'll tell you when to switch. Go ahead. I'll tell you. All right, switch. All right, good enough. Good enough. Everybody sit back down, please. Sit back down. Great. So who's got something really funny to share? Raise your hand. Anybody? Come on, there's got to be a good story or two. What'd you hear? You told a story. What was the story? Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was such a hanging and carousel. I don't know. So I was flying with it and actually let her go and just now I still remember, and I was falling down for 3 meters on bricks, and actually I broke both my hands. Wow. And my brother only saw that I broke one, so he took the other hand and actually dragged me to the up the mountain for 200 meters, with holding my other broken hand. Well, that was my funny story.
Wow. So I guess you learned a good lesson, huh? Yeah, I guess so. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is the reality of business, and we're going to talk about you as a product. And what's interesting about entrepreneurship is we always talk about tactics and how you build a company and getting financing and all these great things. Well, the last company I built, I scaled to 4 continents, and I was really fortunate to do that. And the one thing that I found, whether it was in Brazil or it was in Chile, it was in Greece, Denver, New York, wherever you could think of, under 30 employees, the #1 issue that any business owner had nothing to do with tactics. And it had everything to do with the thing between their 2 ears. So we're going to go on a little journey today and talk a little bit about yourself and how you can build yourself as a product so that you can actually build a really cool company, build some jobs, and maybe change a couple things. So this is a really simple graph that I show a lot. And most people say, you know, Gary, wow, this This is so groundbreaking. I've never seen something like this before. Tell me something I actually don't know. Well, what's interesting is most people don't actually stop and slow down. Most people are so quick to build an MVP, or so quick to build a lean startup, or to do this, or to do that, or whatever your investor says, or whatever your parents say, or whatever your partner says. But in reality, the best thing you can do before you start a company is what is in this graph. Except the challenge normally is we don't know how to actually use this graph. So pull out a pen and a paper, or pull out your phone and your notepad in your phone real quick. We're going to do one more exercise. It's going to take about 3 minutes. And if you don't do it, well, you're going to lose a chance to make a difference in your life. So if you really want to hold yourself accountable, if you're here to actually make a difference in your life, do it. What I'd like you to do is take a minute, stare at this graph, your goals and your dreams. Don't show it to anybody. We're not going to share it, so you don't have to worry. There's no more sharing is caring. It's 100% private. What I want you to do is write down your 3 top goals and dreams that you have in your entire life. I did it right before I came on stage. So to give you a little bit of inspiration, I'll read mine real quick. Okay? So it says, Gary's goals and dreams. Number 1 is to decentralize entrepreneurship globally. And what I have, and what I'll ask you to also do, is also a next step, and hold yourself accountable. So for me, that is building a pilot with a government in Sweden or Finland. Number 2 is provide a humbled life of abundance for my family and my friends. I don't believe that there's an issue with abundance as long as you're humble about it and do good things for good people. The next step there is to sell my next company. So I got a little while before I do that. And number 3 is marry the love of my life. So the next step is to propose. Unfortunately, she's not here, and she's not going to see the speech, hopefully, in the next couple months. So that's a TBD. Well, those are my top 3. So take 2 minutes and write down your top 3 goals and dreams that you have in your life, please. Take 1 more minute. Make sure you're being honest with yourself. That's paramount. Don't be afraid to write it down on a piece of paper. It's just paper. Another 30 seconds. All right. So you've wrote down your 3 goals and dreams for your entire life, for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. How many people have that written down somewhere already before now? Pretty good amount. How many people have it posted in their house? Raise your hand. Very few. How many have it posted next to where they brush their teeth every morning? 2. How many have it posted next to the door that you go in and out of the most in your house? A few. Those 3 places, what I want you to do is what you wrote down, type it up, post it next to your bed, where you brush your teeth, and where you leave the house in and out the most. There's this thing called the theory of change. Has anybody ever heard of the theory of change before? Okay, good amount of folks. We've had a couple speakers talk about psychographics and being positive and understanding your why. Well, what you just did is hold yourself accountable. And the minute you post it, what you actually are trying to do becomes tangible in your life for the first time ever. And after repetition, after 21 days, it becomes a habit. What becomes a habit and consumes your thoughts starts to become your reality. And there's this thing called the theory of change, where normally your life trajectory is kind of like this. It keeps getting better and better and better. But in 21 days, your life can all of a sudden start to go like this, just like a hockey curve like you would in a company. All you have to do is post that up in your house. So I hope that you will. So the interesting thing that we're told, at least we've been told in America, and you're probably told here, is that you can make a difference in the world. And it's a matter of how you want to make a difference and why you do what you do, which we'll get into. What you just wrote down is your way that you're going to make a difference in this world, whether it's personally or professionally. And if you decide to post it, you're going to hold yourself accountable. And then once you hold yourself accountable, you can pull a tab off of that piece of paper. Okay? But what I want you to also understand is that it doesn't come easy. If there's any shortcut or it seems easy, then it's not the right way. I don't know one entrepreneur in my entire career that I've met in the 20 countries that I've been to who's had an overnight success. There's not one. Even Instagram. Everybody looks at Instagram and says, oh, golly, look what they did and how much they sold for. Well, how many people know that the founders of Instagram were in the top program at Stanford for a year and a half and had the best mentors in the world? And all they did was think about one product and one solution. Not too many people know about that. There is no overnight success. Hold yourself accountable, and then you have the opportunity to make a difference. So check out what the Dalai Lama has to say. What I love about this quote from the Dalai Lama, and what I actually loathe about my own country in America, is that we're so superficial. We care so much about tangible things. Money, cars, diamonds, all these things. They're all superficial. It doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter. One of the biggest misperceptions of Eastern Europe about Silicon Valley is thinking that we build companies for money. I could care less about any of the companies that I've built for money since I was 17. I did it because I was passionate about it. It was a way for me to manifest what you just wrote down on that sheet of paper. What the Dalai Lama talks about is the fact that we waste most of our lives. Most of our life is consumed by superficial things that don't matter. And what happens is the day that you're on your deathbed, you're always going to wonder and ask why you didn't tell somebody that you love them, or why you didn't follow your dream. And you're going to resent yourself. And it's only a matter of time before that happens. What I'm going to try and do in this presentation is help you to understand that as soon as you walk out of here, you can make a difference immediately. How many people have tattoos? Raise your hand. Not too many. Well, I have 26, believe it or not. And what I find interesting about tattoos is that tattoos tell stories. And us as humans like stories. What you just wrote down on that sheet of paper is your story. It's your roadmap for your life, or it at least better be. And you're going to hold yourself accountable to that for the next decade or two, and things are going to change along the way. But what's interesting about people who normally get tattoos is they wear their reality on their body, and it's tribalism. And the interesting thing about tribalism is that it's all based on passion. So my last company, like I said, I scaled to 4 continents. I speak broken Spanish, and I speak no Portuguese. Yet I was able to take a company that was only based in America and bring it to other countries that spoke different languages, that didn't understand me and my mannerisms or the way in which I do business, because I'm sometimes an ignorant American. I mean, those cultural differences really happen. But the difference was that every single person was passionate about what I was passionate about, which was decentralizing entrepreneurship. They believed that every single person deserved a realistic opportunity to be an entrepreneur. And that's why they came to Entrepreneur Week. And that's the reason each of you are here on a Sunday afternoon. I remember yesterday, this entire auditorium was filled with people, and everybody was buzzing and this and that. And what I said to myself in my head was, Let's see how many people are there on the afternoon of Sunday. Because in an Entrepreneur Week, it was a week-long series of panels and keynotes and roundtables. The people that I still hear from today, who came to events 4 years ago, are the people that were always there on the Friday afternoon, 5 p.m., when they had no reason to really be there besides the fact that they were so driven and so passionate towards the same things that you just wrote down that they wouldn't stop at anything until they would achieve them. So give yourselves a round of applause for still being here right now instead of making an excuse. In life, it's really easy to make excuses. You can make excuses for just about anything. The last presentation was all about excuses in one way or another, right? The hardest thing to say is, I don't know, in a lot of times, whether that's personal or professional. The best thing you can do to yourself is say sometimes you don't know, and ask the people around you, the same people that are tribal, that believe in the same things that you do. Ask them for help. It's not easy. I come from a blue-collar family where you don't show emotion, where you don't ask for help. It took me years and years and years and many failed relationships to understand what it meant to ask for help. You guys live in a country that doesn't have as many resources as I'm fortunate to have in America. But that's no excuse. If anything, I believe that that's actually a strength for folks like you. You speak more languages. You think internationally. You're forced to think outside of your geographical boundaries and contexts immediately as you build a company. In America, most entrepreneurs don't think about any of that. It took me 1.5 years, for instance, to figure out how to scale the company that I built in America and bring it to a country like Lithuania. Because I didn't have that mental context that you all are fortunate to already have by living in this country. Success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. You all define what success means to you on that piece of paper. I will guarantee you that that success will not come without sacrifice, however. And once again, if it doesn't come without sacrifice, if it comes easy, then something is wrong. Either you've made a mistake or you're telling yourself a story that doesn't exist. And both of those can be fatal to your personal relationships, to your company, and to the employees that you have that count on you. You're not perfect. You don't know everything. And the great thing is you don't need to. Because every person in this room, the reason why I had you talk to your neighbor is because I hope you'll take down their information. And I hope you will talk to them again. Because everybody who's sitting in this room right now comes from the same tribe. Because you, once again, could have made an excuse not to be here on a Sunday afternoon, and you're here, and you're listening, and you're making a difference in your life, and you're holding yourself accountable. So you now have a couple hundred other people that you probably didn't have before you came today. But I will guarantee you that you could count on anybody else in this room to help you going forward. The other part of this quote is about failure. There's all this stuff about lean startup and MVPs and things like that that comes out of Silicon Valley that's in the best interest of these venture capitalists and these investors. They want you to fail. They want you to figure it out or for you to just die because the cream rises to the top for them no matter what. And I have a lot of friends who are venture capitalists. Everybody that spoke up here on the stage is a friend of mine who I respect very much. But the reality is that they care about internal rate of return, right? They have investors in their funds, and they invest those funds in you. They have a specific way that they need to deploy that capital to you, and that's okay. But if you don't understand the difference between that and your own personal motivation for building a company, you're going to tell yourself a wrong story, and it's all going to blow up in your face. So when it comes to failure, failure is a good thing. Saying I don't know is a good thing. But telling yourself a story that just getting $500,000 or $1 million from Silicon Valley makes you successful, or that you're going to build a good company, is not true. And anybody that tells you that over Twitter, or any of the mainstream voices that you hear through Twitter that isn't here in Lithuania speaking to you, I will tell you right now, is bullshit. Because the people that get up on this stage, who've traveled 24 hours to get up on the stage to talk to you people, all of us care. And that's why we're here, right? You have a lot of very successful people who've come up on this stage who have no other God-given reason to come here than because they believe in empowering guys and gals like you. So take it as an opportunity and take it as a blessing for the people that have come up here. And don't believe just what you read on TechCrunch. Don't believe what you see on Twitter, because it's not about failure. It's about what you're passionate about, and it's about what you want to do. And if you fail along the way, that's okay. But don't listen to the wrong story, and don't fall into the trap of what you see these days when it comes to just raising money for whatever reason. Which leads me to my next point. What an entrepreneurial superstar looks like. So it's kind of an interesting graph, because you have some people who just want to be mediocre. They just want to do tasks, and that's fine, right? Every company needs folks like that, who want to sit at their desk job, they want to work a 9 to 5, and they want to get a paycheck. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I can tell by the people that are in this room right now, you wouldn't be here on a Sunday afternoon if that's what you wanted to do with your life. And if you do, then you should get up and walk out right now, because the rest of the presentation isn't going to matter to you. In the upper right is an entrepreneurial superstar. We're already starting to talk about mindset. We're already talking about sustainability. We're already talking about what you want to do and how you want to make an influence, how you want to make an impact. The difference is, being a successful entrepreneur does not mean building another Instagram or being a Mark Zuckerberg. What it means is being a good family man or woman. What it means is having confidence in yourself. What it means is having humility. What it means is giving back to your community and loving each other. And as foo-foo as that might sound, there's not enough of it in this world. Everything's all around financing and building a company. But an entrepreneurial superstar can be somebody like an actor, or it can be somebody like a journalist. One of the hardest jobs that I've ever heard of somebody doing was a journalist who worked for the Wall Street Journal. She worked for the Wall Street Journal full-time and still had to be a cook because she didn't make enough money to write for the Wall Street Journal. This is one of the people that you pay PR people to call on the phone all the time. And she told me this privately, what she has to do to still make a living. And she does it because she's passionate about it. She'll never make $1 million. She'll never be the star of Silicon Valley. She'll never be next to Ron Conway or Peter Thiel or any of the names that you know or you've seen. But you know what? In my mind, I respect her more than any of those other names. And it doesn't mean those other names haven't done great things, but what it means is she's still living exactly to a T what she wants to do every day and is willing to sacrifice every day to do it. Raise your hand if you sacrifice every day to still do what you want to do every day. Now, how many of you, keep your hand up if you're doing that in regards to what you wrote down on that piece of paper? About half the room, right? We want all of those hands to be up, because it's not always about building a company. It's about being a good human being and understanding what you need to do. What's interesting, in the last presentation, it talked about ambiguity, once again, that you don't know. This is one of my favorite pictures, because in reality in life, you have no idea what the hell is going to happen tomorrow. I'll give you an example. I used to have a friend in New York. I lived in New York for 6 years. She's a very good friend of mine. And unfortunately, she couldn't be here. And she couldn't be here because she's dead. And she didn't die from cancer. She didn't die from a drug overdose or any of the things that normally, happen to somebody who's 24 years old. She was in New York one day, and she got hit by a cab. So she gets a leg cast and everything, and we all draw on it, and it's kind of funny, this and that. And a couple weeks go by. Give her a call on the phone, laughing at her. And then one day I get a phone call. She's dead. What do you mean she's dead? I mean, I just saw her 2 days ago. In the cast, the way the cast was, released a blood clot and it went straight to her brain. Dead at 24. Straight A student. Investment banker. Great friend of mine. My point being is you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't even know what's going to happen in an hour from now. So stop living in the past and stop living in the future and live in the now. All you can do is throw a tank on your back of whatever you think you're going to need and start executing. Because making excuses is what every other person that's not in this room right now that should be is doing. And instead what you guys are doing is throwing that tank on your back and saying, you know what? I don't know what's coming my way, but I know that I have to be here. So give yourselves a round of applause for being here once again. So we've talked a lot about entrepreneurship and holding yourself accountable, but why would you do that in the first place? This was once again in the previous talk. It's a good friend of mine, his name's Simon Sinek. He talks about starting with why. Why do you do what you do? What's your passion? What's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Passion is the only thing in your life that is actually scalable. It is the only thing that is going to make you get off your ass and actually do something with your life. What you wrote down on that piece of paper, sure as shit, better be something that you're passionate about. Because if not, it's going to affect your personal life, your professional life, and it's going to screw with you for the rest of your life, and you're going to end up dying probably of heart disease or of something like that, some chronic disease, because you're not following what you care about and executing on it every single day and reminding yourself why you do what you do. So the next thing I want you to do when you get home, when you look at those three things that you wrote down, why are you passionate about it? You could write down one bullet point, you could write down 5 bullet points. But make sure that you understand why you're doing what you're doing. What is your passion? What is your purpose? What is your cause? And what your belief is? Because at the end of the day, when you have to work 48 hours straight, like I've had to do multiple times, and where I ran myself into a ground building a company on 4 continents, and I had to take 2 years off, almost 3 years, because of it. The thing that kept me going is because I knew why I did what I did. My personal brand is stop at nothing, achieve everything. I have driven and relentless tattooed on the back of my triceps. Why? Not because I'm a tough guy, but because I believe that luck is an accumulation of superior effort and focused execution. Everybody in this room who is still here on a Sunday afternoon believes those same things. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't be here. So understand why you do what you do. How you do it, there's a million ways. Don't always think about the conventional ways of doing it. Because 9 times out of 10, it's not the right way for you to do it. So think about doing it differently. Expand your mind. It's called mental dexterity. Try doing things differently. Ask your friends, ask your family, ask your loved ones for a different way. Be vulnerable for once. What you do is just a byproduct. That's just the outcome. Maybe you make $1 billion. Maybe you change a life. Maybe you're just actually something called happy for once. And I think that's what most people just want in life. However, the interesting thing in everything we've talked about to this point, and I've gone on a tirade about, is not what's going to make you successful. It's actually the tangible lens that you use on why you do what you do and what you're passionate about is what's going to dictate your success. Your brain is an interesting mechanism. There's a book called Brain Rules. Has anybody read that book? No? Write it down. It's a good book. It talks about how to re-hardwire your brain. It's not that hard. You can make a habit of anything within 26 days. That's how you get addicted to just about anything. And you can be addicted to your passion. And you can be addicted to focusing and holding yourself accountable. And you can be addicted to being a positive person. The problem is most people don't take the time to do it. And most people don't give you tangible examples of things like this. And to this point, everything that we've gone through so far is just a manifestation of what Steve said here before he unfortunately passed away. There's this voice in your head that says you're too stupid, or you're too slow, you're too fat, you're too ugly, you're too something. The thing in your head that manifests these negative thoughts for you is called your inner critic. When Steve talks about your inner voice, there's 2 sides of it. There's a good side and a bad side. Just like when you see in cartoons an angel and a devil on each of your shoulders. There's a book at the end that I recommend that you read. Entrepreneurs are the #1 profession for suffering from this thing called the inner critic. And what that is a survival mechanism from 100,000 years ago, when it was just a hunter-gatherer society globally. And what it used to be is an optimization tool for you to eat and reproduce and kill things. What it's become now is a very self-deprecating tool for human beings because of all the new things that we have around ourselves, technology and things like that. So when it comes to the inner critic, there's a lot of things that happen in your life and you have no idea why they happen. To be honest with you, I had no idea how I ended up in Lithuania, besides the fact that one of my buddies randomly sent me an email and said, dude, you got to come speak at this conference. There's a lot of really good people. And I looked at the flight schedule and I said, you know, 20 hours to get to Lithuania? I don't know. But something in my gut told me to come to Lithuania. Had no idea why till this morning, when I sat with one of the speakers that had spoken before, who, funny enough, has the same passion and purpose that I do when it comes to decentralizing entrepreneurship, and has some of the key government contacts that I wrote down on this piece of paper right here. She has them in both Sweden and Finland and Germany. Go figure. Who knew? I've been working on that vision for 6 years, and it took 6 years for me to be in Lithuania, and until 2 hours ago, my vision had no opportunity to actually be funded, and now it does. Everything happens for a reason. Luck is an accumulation of superior effort and focused execution. If for any God-given reason one of those three things on your list is easy, I will say it again and again and again. If it's easy, you're telling yourself a story or something is wrong. Because nothing in life comes easy. Nothing in life that is worth getting comes easy. And you know the cool thing about it is that the journey is something that you will carry with yourself for the rest of your life and that you'll be thankful for. Trust me. As much as I have gray hair and I'm losing all this hair and everything, after the last company that I built and having horrible eating habits and things like that and gaining lots of weight, I would never change it for a moment. And it's just like when I played Division I football at the University of Connecticut. As much as I have a 60-year-old spine, and I have back problems, and I go to the chiropractor almost every day, I would never change the learnings that I learned by playing Division I football. Because it taught me what the edge looks like. It taught me that I can do more than other people. It taught me that I would come to an event on a Sunday afternoon to keep pushing forward because I had a hope and a dream, whether it was to be a manager at an entrepreneurial company, be a CEO myself, or just figure out what the hell to do with my life. Your conscious thoughts and what you believe almost always become reality and future predictors of performance and occurrences. What you believe becomes reality. You've written down what you want to do. Hopefully you'll write down why you want to do it. And if you post it, it will become your conscious thoughts and it will become your reality. Trust me, it will. And believe in that reality because it will happen. And as untangible as that sounds, I hope that you will send me a tweet or an email. My Twitter is right there. I hope in 6 months, a year, 2 years, you tweet me or you email me and you tell me the fact that today is the first day that you started finally holding yourself accountable and you remember this slide. Because all you have to do is keep reminding yourself of why you're doing what you're doing to be successful. Forget about how the hell to build a company from a tactical point of view. That's a commodity. That's easy. What's not easy is your brain and the mental models and the inner critic. And what's interesting is if you post these things and you talk to people and you surround yourself with the right people, you build momentum. And momentum and momentum and momentum. And it becomes exponential. You start meeting the right people. You start talking about the right things. Your pitch becomes refined. And then magically out of nowhere, somebody wants to throw you money at a valuation 4 times better than what you probably would have had 6 months before then. So going back to everything happens for a reason. Remember, if you don't feel momentum, there's a reason why. If you don't feel momentum, there's a reason why. If you don't feel momentum, there is a reason why. Step back and think about why there's not momentum. Fix it and start moving again. because the train will continue. Dream big and worry small. This is something I talk ad nauseum about to entrepreneurs who are building companies. It takes just as much effort to build $1 million in revenue company as it does $100 million. So I don't understand why you only want to build $1 million company. I don't understand at all why you would want to build $1 million company when you guys are afforded the gifts of what I described earlier, of what you have by coming from Lithuania instead of from a very arrogant and overly abundant country that's unthankful like mine. Dream big and worry small. And the younger you are, the better, because you can make more and more and more tangible ways to not fail in the long term. You have 8 to 10 opportunities to fail in your life. Every startup takes 3 to 4 years. If you're a woman, you have less than 5 opportunities if you want to have kids. You can break it down that way as well. You have 8 to 10 opportunities to truly nail your passion for the rest of your life and not resent your own life. The best way to execute on that is by dreaming big and by just doing it. JFDI, just fucking do it. Worry about the rest later. Because if you're passionate and you know why you're doing what you're doing and you surround yourself with the right people, the momentum will happen and the big things will happen as a byproduct. This took me a long time to understand. I thought I was God's gift to the universe in my last company in the first year. Everybody wanted to talk to me, and it was, you know, going around the world, you get paraded around, you meet all the right people, and then you sit back one day and you realize you don't know jack shit. Because there's always somebody smarter than you. There's always somebody who's done more than you. There's always somebody who's humbler than you. So don't get a big fucking head, okay? Do not get a big fucking head. All you're doing is hurting yourself and the people around you. And if you're some type of sick masochist, well then keep doing that. But besides that, if you care about the people around you, stay humble. Uncensored Q&A. I think we got time for 2 or 3 questions. If anybody has any questions. Guess not. Yes, ma'am.
Can we see the tattoos?
Can we see the tattoos? I knew you would ask that. Yeah. How many people want to see the tattoos? All right. Well, if you're going to ask to see them, you have to come and undress me. Give her a round of applause. I mean, come on. What are you else going to do? You're going to show up in Eastern Europe and take off your clothes.
It's one of those amazing things that happens every year.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Cameras and film this thing.
So do you want
YouTube instead.
I don't know if this is YouTube appropriate. No, you got to take us off and everything. You got to pull up the back shirt and everything. I mean, if we're going to do this,
Fine.
you know, you want everybody to see the tattoos. All right, and then there you go. Well, and then you gotta pull up the back and let everybody see. There, yeah. So there you go.
Over.
There you go.
Oh wait, got the side.
Oh yeah, and then some there too.
Here.
So,
There.
in closing, what I will say with these tattoos, I'll just stand like this for a second. With some of these tattoos, what this actually is the story of my grandmother. So when I talk about tribalism and why I do what I do, there's a Russian Orthodox cross because my grandmother was Russian Orthodox. And you see her initials in there. You see a crossword puzzle because how I learned to think the way that I do is by crossword puzzles with my grandmother. You see a church because that's where I was baptized, my parents got married, my uncle's funeral was my grandmother donated time. You see a grandfather clock because I hated the education system and I never fit in. So I was always grounded. And I would be at my grandmother's and every hour that clock would ding. On the bottom there is a bus, and the reason why is because my grandmother was so poor her entire life that she only took the bus everywhere. But when my mom was 16, she had a car. Everything on my body tells a story. Everything we talked about today is about how you build your story. And I hope to God that after you leave here, you own your story and you do what you're passionate about. Thank you.